Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's edition of A Queen's Eye View. Here's where we bring four women and four different opinions. Sometimes you can multiply that by two, divide it by three, subtract it by one. It just depends, right, Heidi?
Absolutely.
We discuss news and current events as it is reported, but more importantly, how we see it. We share personal experiences from pain to triumph. I'm Shay. Alongside me this evening is Heidi.
Hi.
Hey Heidi, how you doing?
I'm good.
We normally have Dawn Michelle and Sayeri. They're not with us this evening. Hey ladies, we miss ya.
Yes, we do.
We'd like to thank you all for tuning in again this week. Get your pens and paper out. Better yet, go ahead and lock our telephone number in. Our phone number is 678-701-3738. That's 678-701-3738. You got it? Call in with your questions and or comments. We'd appreciate it if you would call in. Also, we ask that you text, email, tweet, Instagram, Facebook, MySpace. What else is out there, Heidi?
Girl, I can't keep up. I heard Tumblr, something, whatever
Tumblr,
you do.
whatever you do. We ask that you ask your friends to log on to skycitymg.com/talk-radio. That's skycitymg.com/talk-radio. Got that?
Got it.
All right. And don't forget to join our network Facebook groups. That's Sky City Media Group and Jericho Broadcast Networks as well. That way you can leave all your questions, comments, or concerns. All right. So Heidi, how was your week? Tell me something awesome that happened this week.
My week was pretty hectic. It was a kind of crazy day yesterday because apparently Outcast shows was sold out 1 and 2 until I got in my car this evening as I was driving home on Peachtree, and Outcast has another show that's opening on Sunday the 28th, a third show, and tickets go on sale at 8 p.m. at Ticketmaster all over town.
8 p.m. tonight?
8 p.m. tonight, girl.
So am I going to lose you for a few minutes?
I'm an old school Outcast fan, I'm just saying. So that was the highlight of my day, honestly.
So that you're gonna the highlight will be when you actually get the ticket.
Well, that too.
You know. So that's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much all that's going on. Just working and trying to beat this heat, girl. I would advise everybody. This is a safety public announcement to put some water in your car because traffic has been rough and it's been in the 90s every day, and people are dehydrated. So definitely keep water around you because and as one of my producers said, in a cooler, in your car because it's definitely dangerous out there in ATL.
Absolutely. Cooler with water.
Correct. Only water. You got that, fellas? Anyway.
Right. Well, my week was good. It was busy, but it was good. My day was interesting. I'm just grateful that for some reason I've been running around, didn't realize that my gas tank was on E. And I've never driven my car until it said you had 0 miles to empty. Now, you know that song, 5 miles to empty?
Right.
I love that song. But I ain't never heard of 0 miles to empty.
Wow.
That's why I know God is good because I rode about another 8 miles until I could get to the gas station. I was running between the church, between a customer, and in between home, and then the nail salon. Oh, and speaking of the nail salon, Miss Tia, I hope that you are not texting and driving. Yes.
Who are you talking about?
Oh, Miss Tia. I met Miss Tia and Miss Janet at the nail salon today, and we had a wonderful conversation. And Miss Tia admitted to being a texter and driver and said her daughter and her husband are dead set against it. And I told Miss Tia I was going to put her on blast every week until I knew she was no longer behaving that way. Tia?
Wow.
Tia, matter of fact, Tia, I want you to call in. Give it a number, Heidi.
Oh my gosh, 678-701-3738. Please, Miss Tia, call in. Don't text and drive. Do like I do. Stop at the stop signs. I'm just saying.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But it was such a pleasure to talk to Miss Tia and Miss Janet today in the nail salon. It's very refreshing when you can actually talk to people and just not even know them, but just find just a common bond. And that's just being a woman.
Yeah, that's that Southern hospitality thing we got. Occasionally, you run into some really nice people in Atlanta, and that's a pleasant. It doesn't happen all the time. Look at my producer's face.
Right. I was gonna say now. Wait a minute, Heidi.
It does happen. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. You got a couple of New Yorkers in here.
Oh, that's what it is. Oh well.
See, right. So don't say it's Southern hospitality. We have some manners.
A little.
Whatever.
I don't know why it is that most of my girls are from like New York or up north. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all are not nice when y'all don't want to be. I'm just
and the Southern is not that nice either. But that's gonna be another show. How about that? You see that? Talking about we not nice.
I just sometimes.
See, I was getting ready to say you look so pretty, your hair and that pretty dress. I'm about to take my compliments back.
Well, I still love you.
Wait a minute, my producer looks so pretty. She have a flower in her hair, hair pushed up. Dressed there with some cleavage. Woo!
Cleavage.
You know what happened when the producer sit in that seat? We get on him. Last week it was Roy.
I know. It's all good though. So tell me what's going on.
Well, that's it. It was Father's Day this weekend. I wasn't able to go and see my dad, but what I did do was I got off of work on Monday night and I made the trip to go see him because he was on my heart and my spirit. I slept. I got up Tuesday morning and made the trip and came right back for work.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. And I don't do it. I don't say it looking for any kudos or anything, but just because I love them. And we don't have our parents forever. When we have the opportunity to spend time and love on them, that's what we should do.
No, I completely agree. And we've talked about this before, Shawan. It was a rough weekend for me because my father actually passed away on June 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And this year it actually fell on Father's Day.
Yeah.
So my morning was a little rough. I had to meditate, get through some things. But, my husband took me out for brunch, which was nice. And then I started to perk up some, and family and friends and folks just started texting and calling.
Right.
So, that was a blessing. Also, I still have my stepfather who is up in his mid-80s.
Wow,
looking
God bless.
Like he's 50. So, we called to wish him a happy Father's Day. It's a blessing. But my husband and my father are now passed. So it's rough. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially when you was daddy's
your husband's
girl.
father.
Yeah,
right.
His father's gone and my father are both gone now.
Wow.
And they were big parts of our lives.
That is rough.
But on a flip, I made sure I wished a happy Father's Day to all the fathers I could think of. Where I sent you something and it wouldn't go on your page. I don't know what's going on with your stuff. I'm just saying that was our producer.
I know. I think he got a lot of hits after our last show. That's what I'm saying. I think they had to shut him down.
He's still single, ladies. Anyway,
and still got those pretty brown eyes.
Yeah, and a bald head. Okay.
Anyway,
so anyway, but it was a beautiful time, and I'm just so blessed to see so many fathers and younger fathers, just stand up and handle their business.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's funny you say that because on Saturday at my church, Christ the King Baptist Church, we had a Father's Day brunch.
Oh, okay.
And it was truly amazing. We actually, when I say we, wasn't me, but the other women of the church served the men. They had enough volunteers, so I just sat down and ate.
Oh, okay.
And cheered them on.
Oh, okay.
Next year, I'm going to be one of the ones to help serve. Unless they have enough servers, then I'll sit down again. But, in spirit, I was helping, But anywho, we had some questions that we asked. The previous week, we had written down some questions.
Okay.
Well, there were some questions that were written down, and we wrote down some answers. So our pastor actually read out the questions, and she read out the responses to it. And they asked, how many had a father in the house or a male role model. And surprisingly, what society tells us today, 70%, there's no role model, there's no male, well, in our generation, because that was more or less the age group, it was about 74 to 75% that grew up with their father or with a male role model. And that was for men and women. And there was one question that just has stuck with me all week was what legacy has been left and what legacy will you leave?
Oh, okay.
So that was very deep. And it just made me think about that all week long. What legacy where you left and what legacy will you leave? And that brings us back to what we talked about last week. Who are the pioneers that are left? Our ancestors are dying. So
Right.
who's going to be there to carry the torch?
Right.
So who's going to be charged with that responsibility?
That's a good question, and it's a huge answer. And I know we went into detail last week. I still struggle with really what that looks like, because
Yeah.
honestly, what role model, the word role model sort of bothers me these days, because it's it doesn't look like what I thought it should look like.
I agree.
And
I
it's
agree.
changed. It's definitely changed.
My idea of a role model, you know, it should always start with your parents. You know, used to be your teachers.
Right.
You know, used to be your pastor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but wow, teachers.
And your pastors.
You know, I'm kind of sensitive on the pastors, but I know that there are some.
Right.
But you're right. And the teachers, though, you used to be able to go to your teachers and your counselors and your pastors, you know, even your neighbors. But now, those are all the ones that you shield your children from.
Well, they keep popping up in the mainstream news in the middle of the night, which is unfortunate.
Yes, they do. And we're going to talk a little bit later on in the show about our teachers and what qualifies and who should be qualified to teach.
Oh, that's going to be a hot topic.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be one. We're going to talk about parenting and what are the values. So we're going to go to break. We ask that you stay with us. Again, the phone number here, you want to give it to him, Heidi?
Yes, 678-701-3738.
Right, so get your questions ready. We're going to talk about teachers. Who's qualified to teach our students? Parenting. What are the values, and are there any left?
And make sure you guys call in.
We want to talk to you tonight. After the break, we'll be right back.
Do you need a commercial spot for your concert or event? How about your football homecoming or classic? Well, your search is over. Hi, this is Roy Evans of the Jericho Broadcast Networks, and I want to tell you about Urban Voices at ConcertPromo.com. Urban Voices is one of the premier voice imaging firms in the country. Their teams of veterans know how to get your message across with the hottest flavor. They've worked on some of the biggest events in urban America and can be heard in over 60 radio markets across the country. So from your new product launch to your college homecoming, there's only one place to go if you want to stay ahead of the competition. That's Urban Voices at ConcertPromo.com. Urban Voices at ConcertPromo.com is one of the sources that helps power the Jericho Broadcast Networks.
Are you in need of a dessert for a special event? Maybe a custom birthday cake. I know, it's your wedding day and you want a cake that will stimulate your taste buds and capture and create the memories for that special day. Well, Sweet Destination should be your choice. Let master sweet designer Montevia Gamble create a unique and delicious cake for your special occasion. But that's not all. Sweet Destination also creates other desserts, from cheesecakes, homemade fudge, brownies, cookies, pies, cake pops, cupcakes, and just about anything that you can think of. So check them out at sweetdestinations.com or on Facebook under Sweet Destinations. Remember, the greatest conversations take place on the road to the sweetest destinations of the human mind. So let's do more than business. Let's make memorable moments. We are Sweet Destinations.
Honey, what are we going to do with all these bills? It doesn't make any sense. We make more than enough money to cover everything, but we're still in a hole.
Let's check out Madam Money.
Madam Money? Who is that?
She is a financial expert who helps people like us set and reach our financial goals.
This is great. With her help, we can do all the things that we talked about.
That's right. Now we can take that vacation we've always wanted and not feel stressed.
Hi, this is Tara Jackson, also known as Madam Money, and I can help you clear up all of your financial diseases and those pesky financial STDs.
See, this is why I love you.
Yes, I know.
So check out Madam Money online at tarajackson.com. TARRA Jackson.com. Tap Out Studios of Hollywood is one of Atlanta's newest visual and performing arts centers designed for you to perfect your creativity. Our 3,000 square foot event space includes a full bar, VIP section, movie screen, and 2 stages. Take advantage of our Spring Fling package deal for new and existing clients. Save over 40% when you rent our venue for $700 for events with more than 100 people. For booking information, contact Kendra at 404-578-1454. Located less than a half a mile off of I-20 off Fulton Industrial, we are Tap Out Studios of Hollywood, 620 Interchange Drive. Tap Out Studios of Hollywood, inspiring creativity, changing lives, and making dreams come true.
Hi, welcome back to A Queen's Eye View. I'm Shay.
And this is Heidi.
We're glad you came back.
Yes, we are.
Oh, we were having a few laughs on break, and we're going to talk about that a little later on in the in the next segment. But we want to get into some serious topics right now. You know, we talk about parenting, and we talk about, you know, being a good role model. I'm questioning that these days. You know, there's been a few things that have happened that, I don't know. You know, I used to joke about, you know, wanting to leave my son outside and do things, but I said that in jest. I don't even think I said it out loud. Maybe I thought it. No, maybe I did say it out loud once or twice, but I would never do it. You know, but here in Madison County, Georgia, just this past week, a man was driving down Highway 72. You know, it's 90 degrees out here, and he's driving down the highway, and he notices something out of the corner of his eye moving. Wasn't a squirrel. A little big, too big to be a squirrel. You know, wasn't a fox, but we do have foxes and coyotes out there. I mean, she did have red hair, but it wasn't a coyote. She's a beautiful little girl, 15 months old, crawling alongside the highway. I mean, there's no words for that. There's absolutely no words. Can you come up with any excuse for that?
Shocked and appalled. No, I don't.
And so I'm almost speechless, which very seldom happens. But her parents, well, okay, let's get to the gentleman who actually rescued her. Bryant Collins. He's received nationwide attention after helping this young child. You know, I'll make mention of it. He was actually an African-American man who rescued her, and it was a white family, a couple whose baby was 15 months old. That was out there, and I mention it only, and I never really get caught up in the race thing. You know, I'm always the one to say, no, we got to look past the race. It's not that, it's not this. But I've had some conversations with people today, and they said, look, I need you to keep it real tonight. And I said, I keep it real every Thursday. They said, you do, but I need you to speak for me today. And I said, okay, I'm going to take the other side of it. I'm going to, because today's Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
Right. So I said, okay, I'm going to take this side of it. If it had been, all right, I'm gonna have to keep it the right way. If it had been a different time of day, and this man was caught picking up this little white child on the side of the road, and a police officer happened to be riding by and see him, what would happen?
It would have been a replay of A Time to Kill. That's exactly what it would have been.
Would he have been given an opportunity to explain what he was doing? What if he had picked up the child and just put it in a car or was walking with her? Would he have been given the opportunity to explain what he was doing?
I can't confirm or deny that, Shay, but I hear what you're saying. I hear where you're coming.
And you know, here on the Queen's Eye View, we try to see it from all points.
Correct.
Not just ours.
Correct.
And And I had to think about that for a second. I said, you know what? In this day and time, with all that we've seen, that's probably accurate. He was a clean-cut gentleman, and, he spoke well. But what if he wasn't so clean and neat? What if he was a homeless person? What if he just happened to have found a child? Would it have been something different? But we already know that it doesn't really matter what you look like. You could be in a business suit.
I think the thing that helps this story, and let's just be honest, is the national media attention, because from my understanding, the two white parents were charged after the fact of the situation by the police with some type of neglect.
Right, the father was.
Right. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure if this would have gone in that direction if it hadn't have gotten the type of media attention that it obviously has.
Right.
Sometimes social media and the media is a godsend because it puts things out there for people to actually know. And so people have to be careful about how they, handle themselves with things. So the law enforcement knew they had a job they had to do. You know what I mean? And the parents, from my understanding, are calling this man his angel.
Right. They actually are the ones who called the media. And the reason why they called the media is because they were trying to say that they were being wrongly accused of neglect. So they didn't necessarily do it, I don't think, so much to praise the gentleman who rescued their child. They really did it to try to get the media on their side. And I think that was just kind of a side effect somewhat. Because what happened was they said, well, how did she get out the house and how did she get over 300 yards away? Mm-hmm. And they said, well, we were out in a yard collecting aluminum cans. Mm-hmm. We left the baby sleeping inside with her 12-year-old brother. So nobody saw the child leave. No one heard her. Nothing. And she was wandering 300 yards from home.
Well, once again, it doesn't matter what their motives were calling the media for. The fact that media got involved is probably what's keeping this gentleman from, not being in any mess. Because they were so busy trying to defend themselves that, like you said, it was just an after effect. And at this point, it's a positive one for him.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
But what does concern me is, even though they were charged, everybody can be charged. It's about what the final decision and outcome is with the case. And due to the fact that I work in the legal system.
Oh, hang on, Heidi, we have a call.
I hear.
We have a call.
Hello, caller. How are you doing tonight?
I think we lost a caller.
It rang and then it stopped.
We lost the caller? Oh, okay. Call us back.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, Heidi. Go ahead.
But I was just simply saying that until we know the actual outcome of what happens to these parents, you being charged doesn't really mean a hill of beans. Like I always tell people, don't get excited when you hear the words charged or indictment.
Right.
Because you have to still face the judge.
Okay.
Or possibly, your peers. And so until you have an outcome in that point, you being charged doesn't mean a whole lot.
Okay. Because they said she was left inside with her 3 older brothers, including 12-year-old James. So that leads me to believe the 12-year-old was the eldest of them. And he was supposed to be watching her. Now, like I know, children, they have the attention span of a gnat. Adults have the attention span. I have the attention span of a gnat at times. And, it's summertime. You're playing video games. You're watching television. You're not going to watch, your little sister. Right. If she sleep, you figure she sleep. I'm not going to pay any attention to that.
Correct.
And they say when they came back inside, the front door was open and Emily was gone. My question is, well, how long were you outside collecting cans, and how many cans do you have in your yard?
This is my thing. How did they get out? How did the child get out the front door, open the door without anyone noticing or hearing anything? That part really, really disturbs me.
Well, at 15 months old, I don't know how tall you are, really, but I don't think you're tall enough to reach a doorknob unless the door didn't close all the way. Mm-hmm. That's just what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
And this is all speculation because we weren't there, so
Right, and then the mother and the father, and I quote, it says, "My kids are my world, and I couldn't find her, and all I wanted to do was hold her to make sure she was safe, and they wouldn't let me do that." So that's why he assaulted the police officer. And so that's why he was arrested originally, because he was trying to grab at his child. And he wanted to hold her, make sure she was safe, yet he was collecting aluminum cans outside for an unspecified amount of time that allowed her to wake up from a nap and crawl down Highway 72.
I'm going to do a leap here, but I'm curious to know whether or not law enforcement are they were going to be tested for any types of drugs in their system, or any type of alcohol or drugs at all, anything,
right.
Because a lot of times when you go to assault an officer, that's the next thing we tend to do on the law enforcement side. They do a sobriety test of some sort.
Okay.
But it's just going to be interesting to see what they actually did and what the outcome of this particular case is.
Yeah, I'd like to follow this to see what happens.
Because once again, the African American man did what he was supposed to do. He did a good deed, and that's a beautiful thing. But nobody would have really even known about this had not the media even been involved in the first place.
Oh no, they would not have. The man just wanted to actually take his child and go back home and wanted it to go away, like to say, "Oh, thank you," as if you found a set of keys.
Right.
Thanks for finding my keys. Have a good day.
Right.
But they were like, "Oh, that's not going to happen. We're not just going to let this go." You know.
Right.
But I'm just thankful that she's safe and that she's back home. Well, I don't even know if she's back home with her family. I would suspect there might be some type of investigation going on, you think?
Sometimes DFACS takes children into temporary custody when issues like this have gone down. So until it's sorted out with the court, they possibly might be in temporary care or a temporary family placement, because they tend to place with a family member before they do a stranger.
Right.
But it would be some type of temporary care until their case has, of course, been actually gone through the court system.
Right. Wow.
But nevertheless, it's Juneteenth, and we're just happy that this child is good, and we're happy that this African American man came out on a positive note for once, in the middle of Madison, Georgia, which is in the middle of nowhere, going up north, somewhere close to Athens. Right, Roy? It's by Athens. Yeah.
Is it that way?
Yeah, he said it was up in that direction.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'm glad that she's safe. I'm glad that she was found and returned, and I just hope all works out well for her and her family, and the kids get the supervision that they need. And that's the thing, parents, we have to keep our eyes on our children, and that's regardless. Because it just takes a moment to turn your back, especially this summer. I'll say that to parents. A lot of times the kids are out at the pools. They were at the beach last weekend. There was a young man that was it wasn't in Lake Lanier, it was somewhere else here in Georgia. He was with his family, his aunt and his grandmother, and his siblings at a campground. Mm-hmm. They turned their back he was 6 years old. They turned their back for just a moment, and he was gone. They were searching for him and searching, and then he turned up less than 50 yards away from their campground, and he was found in the lake. He had drowned.
Wow.
He had gone out onto the water. There was a log on there, and I guess he thought he could walk on it, because somebody now, after a while, somebody said, "Oh, I remember seeing a little boy in a log." Hello? So you don't yell, you don't come over and say, "Hey, don't do that," or "Hey, this." And they found him several hours later, and he had drowned.
It's so interesting that you mentioned that story, and we're talking about parents, because this is just a flip on this. This morning, I woke up to HLN because I'm an HLN watcher more so than a CNN these days.
Yes,
since
same here.
Since Soledad is gone. But anyway, this morning on HLN, a Caucasian mother has been accused of poisoning her son. And what she did was she kept posting on social media how sick he was, and she was getting sympathy, and the doctors didn't know what was wrong. And
really?
He had been to his 27th doctor's appointment, and come to find out he got poisoned from salt. An extra amount of salt. Well, the reason why it's all now turned around on mom is because when a child dies, a child fatality happens, and we have child fatality review in our state, and in most states they do.
Right.
They investigate.
Right.
Especially if it's they don't have a reason initially for the death.
Heidi, how old was the child? I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, the child was 5. He was a 5-year-old Caucasian male,
5
beautiful little boy. And what happened was they always investigate the parents first. So on the mother's computer, they found where she had been searching what would happen if you give a child extra amount of salt.
Like regular table salt, you mean?
Correct.
Wow.
And apparently she had done it. They could prove at least twice that they know of that she had searched this information and searched about what happens when a child becomes poisoned and so forth. So now the mother has been charged with basically seeing what happens when you poison a child at 5 and he's gone. And so, it's a huge media story. I'm sure Nancy Grace is going to pick it up and everybody else. But I was sitting here wondering, looking at that this morning, and I didn't even see who it was on the TV. But the first thing my husband said was, now, you know what color they are, don't you? And I looked up at him and I said, well, they're definitely not African American. And he said, well, you're absolutely correct. And I had to stop myself when I said that because, the weird, stranger things have happened with mothers and children in the last couple of years we've been seeing on the news. But this one just blew me kind of away. I mean, who tests out poisons on their kids? And what kind of mental illness are you going through? So now, of course, she's saying that she didn't poison him and she didn't do it, but she's been charged with murder.
See, and I hear you, but see, I see it differently. I mean, I was guilty. I'll say that too. The first thing that happened, you're like, well, what color were they? What? But you know what? Now the color doesn't matter because I'm telling you, the black folks and white people, black people, white people, Asian people, Indian people, everyone's doing it. I mean, these children, the older ones, they make you want to hurt them sometimes. They do. 5 years old, not yet. When these teenagers, they make you want to choke them out, but you can't.
Right.
That's when you guys have to start disciplining them from the times of 2 to 3 years old. You have to instill those values in them. You have to do that from early on. But at 5 years old, I really can't see what that child would have done. Well, nothing warrants being murdered. But that's just a sick parent. She should have just dropped that child off somewhere and said, I don't want to be bothered. Or I don't want this anymore. But, I'd have to agree with you that if it was a child of another color or another hue, that would have been all over the news. That would have made the front page. And it would have showed, that she was an African-American woman. But, the woman who drove her kids into the lake, the ocean that time, not long ago, I didn't know that was an African-American woman.
Oh, yeah.
See, I didn't know that because, that's how we think. I thought.
You thought it was a Caucasian person?
See, that's why I have to train myself and say, you can't look at color.
You're absolutely right.
You have to just look at it as individuals. And that's how we have to change our mindset. And unfortunately, I do believe that because of generations and just how we're used to or accustomed to things being, we're just conditioned on some things. And we have to change. I have to change my mindset on some things. And I realize that.
And that's why I brought it up.
We assume certain things.
That's why I brought it up because really, yes, there's a large amount of children dying, but also what we really need to be focusing on is why is mental illness so widespread currently in our community? And at some point, we're going to have to address that.
Absolutely. And that has to be addressed soon.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I agree with you. But we're getting ready to go to a break, and we're going to come back shortly, and we're going to discuss that. We have some other topics coming up. We're going to stay with the parenting and values because we have a couple of more stories, and some positive ones that we like to talk about. One is going to be from homeless, but not hopeless.
Oh, that
homeless,
sounds great.
But not hopeless. So we're going to focus on something positive. Coming back after the break, we'd like to ask you to stay with us at A Queen's Eye View. I'm Shay.
I'm Heidi.
And we want to talk to you about a few things coming up. So stay with us. And hey, Heidi, give them the phone number.
And please call us at 678-701-3738. Once again, that's 678-701-3738 here at A Queen's Eye View.
Right, in June is usually Graduates Month. Between May and June is Graduates Month. So I'd like to say congratulations to all 2014 graduates. And I'm going to give a shout out to my niece who's graduating next weweek, Bianca Franklin. Auntie will see you next week at your graduation. All right, we'll be back in just a few moments with A Queen's Eye View.
Stay tuned.
you need a commercial spot for your concert or event? How about your football homecoming or classic? Well, your search is over. Hi, this is Roy Evans of the Jericho Broadcast Networks, and I want to tell you about Urban Voices at ConcertPromo.com. Urban Voices is one of the premier voice imaging firms in the country. Their teams of veterans know how to get your message across with the hottest flavor. They've worked on some of the biggest events in urban America and can be heard in over 60 radio markets across the country. So from your new product launch to your college homecoming, there's only one place to go if you want to stay ahead of the competition. That's Urban Voices at ConcertPromo.com. Urban Voices at ConcertPromo.com is one of the sources that helps power the Jericho Broadcast Networks.
Are you in need of a dessert for a special event? Maybe a custom birthday cake. I know, it's your wedding day and you want a cake that will stimulate your taste buds and capture and create the memories for that special day. Well, Sweet Destination should be your choice. Let master sweet designer Montevia Gamble create a unique and delicious cake for your special occasion. But that's not all. Sweet Destination also creates other desserts, from cheesecakes, homemade fudge, brownies, cookies, pies, cake pops, cupcakes, and just about anything that you can think of. So check them out at sweetdestinations.com or on Facebook under Sweet Destinations. Remember, the greatest conversations take place on the road to the sweetest destinations of the human mind. So let's do more than business. Let's make memorable moments. We are Sweet Destinations.
Honey, what are we going to do with all these bills? It doesn't make any sense. We make more than enough money to cover everything, but we're still in a hole.
Let's check out Madam Money.
Madam Money? Who is that?
She is a financial expert who helps people like us set and reach our financial goals.
This is great. With her help, we can do all the things that we talked about.
That's right. Now we can take that vacation we've always wanted and not feel stressed.
Hi, this is Tara Jackson, also known as Madam Money, and I can help you clear up all of your financial diseases and those pesky financial STDs.
See, this is why I love you.
Yes, I know.
So check out Madam Money online at tarajackson.com. TARRA Jackson.com. Tap Out Studios of Hollywood is one of Atlanta's newest visual and performing arts centers designed for you to perfect your creativity. Our 3,000 square foot event space includes a full bar, VIP section, movie screen, and 2 stages. Take advantage of our Spring Fling package deal for new and existing clients. Save over 40% when you rent our venue for $700 for events with more than 100 people. For booking information, contact Kendra at 404-578-1454. Located less than a half a mile off of I-20 off Fulton Industrial, we are Tap Out Studios of Hollywood, 620 Interchange Drive. Tap Out Studios of Hollywood, inspiring creativity, changing lives, and making dreams come true.
Welcome back to A Queen's Eye View. This is Shay.
And this is Heidi.
We thank you for joining us. Heidi, give them the phone number again, because we've had a couple of calls, but they've dropped. Give them the number again.
Yeah, what's up with y'all's drops? 678-701-7338.
That wasn't the number. That's why they didn't call him, Heidi. What number are you giving them?
You know what? You're
Put
absolutely
the glass
right.
down,
Let's
Heidi.
try this again. That's the Moscato talking. My bad. 678-701-3738.
Say that one more time, Heidi.
678-701-3738.
Mm-hmm. Now, don't pour her anymore. Put that down. We got another hour to go. I can't do this by myself. Again, we'd like to thank you guys for joining us. We really enjoy doing this, and we just appreciate you guys tuning in with us every week to A Queen's Eye View. Remember, this is just our opinion.
Definitely. Just our opinion. What's
The
some
views?
facts? What a couple facts thrown
Yeah, we got
in.
some facts in
We
there.
got
You know,
some
it's
facts.
our facts according to us.
Right.
According to a woman, a woman, our opinion, that is facts, though. Our perception is reality.
Correct.
And that's
Correct.
real.
Correct.
Right?
Definitely.
Okay, so again, the Queen's Eye View is fact. But it's not we had to sign a waiver, so y'all don't believe. Sky City said you will sign this waiver. But anywho, we're going to get into a couple of topics, and the one that I want to talk about, homeless but not hopeless. And this is a story that just encourages me on so many different levels, just to say that regardless of what your situation is, no matter what it looks like, no matter what it feels like, no matter what it is, that there's always hope. That if you trust and believe to the God of your understanding, that you can turn things around and things can get better no matter how dim and gloomy that they may look. Because I know I've been there before, and I'm sure you guys have too, that you didn't know how you were going to make it out of a situation.
Right.
You didn't know how you were going to pay a bill. You didn't know how you were going to make it till the morning. But weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And so the next story that we're going to talk about, there's this young lady, Rashima Melson, out of Washington, D.C. I'm sure you guys have heard about her. She was on Good Morning America last week with another gentleman, and we'll talk about him too. They graduated as valedictorian from their school, and her circumstance was very touching. She has lived in a shelter for the last 2 years in Washington, D.C. with her mother and 2 brothers in one room.
Wow.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but it's hard to live in a house alone. I mean, and that may sound funny, but sometimes you got to get out of your own way. But can you imagine being a teenager, going to high school, trying to study, trying to find time? What discipline does that take to be able to stay focused? And she said it was hard at times, but she said she knew she wanted more and she wanted better. And she did it. I just think, so when you look at her, when you look at Rashima and you look at your circumstance and situation, there's nothing that you should not be able to get through. You agree, Heidi?
No, I agree. I definitely agree. Your environment does not dictate your circumstances. And a lot of people use that as an excuse, but it's a bad one because people are making their way all over the world out of crazy situations that even our kids here in America would never understand and wouldn't know how to experience. But homelessness is global,
Absolutely.
Whether it's here in the States or international or whatever. And there are a lot of children, unfortunately, in the States who are homeless, living in shelters or living in situations where they're living in between homes.
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that. Well, not funny, but it's interesting that you mentioned that as far as homelessness for children. At my church again, and I talk about my church all the time because I think it's wonderful. And we're going to have a show on churches in Black communities coming up.
Cool.
And that may be the next week's or the week after's topic. But we have a program called Bethesda House, and we partner with Family Promise of Gwinnett County. And I was amazed to find out that there were 1,600 children over the age of 5 years old in Gwinnett County that were in the schools that were homeless. That was astounding to me, that were registered in school. And that's the growing phenomenon now, is homeless families. It's no longer homeless individuals. It's homeless families. And that's serious. And it takes a lot to be homeless in a family. It's hard enough when it's just you taking care of yourself. But when you have children that are looking to you, when you have a husband who's a head of a household trying to be responsible for his wife and his children, that's got to be rough. And then when you have a single parent, either male or female, a mother or father, and you have these children looking to you, and then you hear stories like we were talking about where someone's killing their children, because your children trust you with everything that they are.
That's right.
And all that they are, until they get some size and then they want to test you, and then you got to remind them who you are.
Right.
You know, and that's one thing as parents we need to do. We need to remind our children that we are their parents and not their friends. You know, but you know, I digress. But I was just saying that's one of those personal victory triumphs we talked about in the beginning. But I just was astounded when I learned just in my own county where I live that there are so many kids that are homeless. So just to say to Rashima, she was going through what she was going through and no one knew it. See, some of us go through things and we got to let everybody know. Our hardship, what our problems are. We post it on Facebook or we tell our friends we go through this. But this young lady, regardless of what her situation was, she showed up at school every day. And not only did she show up, she showed out. She excelled. She became the valedictorian. She's on a full scholarship to Georgetown. I mean, that's amazing. And her course of study is forensic pathologist, I believe she said.
Oh, okay.
And they said, well, how do you feel about leaving your mom and your brothers? She said, I have mixed feelings about that. She says, but I know that because I got out, I can come back and get them. And I just start crying. Well, I'm a crybaby anyway, but I just start crying. She said, because I know that in order to come back for them, I have to leave them.
You know, the reality, and not just in Gwinnett County and all the counties, but the reality in the metro area, which is basically made up of Fulton, DeKalb, Cobb, Gwinnett, and Henry. Now we got to count Henry.
Okay.
Is the fact that we have a new population that is in between the middle class and the poor. We have the working poor. We have families who have jobs,
right?
Mothers and fathers who have children but cannot afford housing. Right. And so this phenomenon is going to continue to grow, unfortunately. And when I worked in the homeless housing part of social services, because social services is my background, I housed a lot of families who made really not bad salaries here in Atlanta, because the cost of living in Atlanta is not that high compared to, you know, a lot of places around the country. But unfortunately, they still could not afford housing. They couldn't either afford the rent, they couldn't be consistent with it, or their credit was keeping them from, or their credit or background was keeping them from decent places, even if they had rehabilitated their lives and they kept their families together. So, and I'm just going to be honest with you all, I saw both African American, Caucasian, and a great deal of Hispanic Americans falling in this realm. So this is going to continue if people don't, you know, look up, because we do have a half and half in between population.
Right.
You know, we talk about the haves and the have-nots,
right,
but we got some in-betweeners too. You know, folks who are responsible, they're not trying to depend on people and food stamps or anything else.
Right.
They got jobs, but they can't find housing.
Right.
So that is going to be a crucial piece in the upcoming future. I just had to throw that out there because I see it constantly.
No, you're right, but do you have any opinion on how that can be overcome, or what we can do about that?
Well, let me just say this. I have mixed emotions on this subject, and my mixed emotions are this. People who work and make a wage, they want to be treated like everybody else. They pay their taxes. Right. They're hard workers. They're not trying to live off people. Right. And unfortunately, they tend to always get put in this proverbial box that they trying to mooch off the system. Right. Exactly. But they're not trying to mooch off the system. And you're not giving them a fair shake either, because you have all these rules and regulations, limitations in place that say, well, you got this felony on your record. Well, if you really looked at the felonies, some of those felonies are not even violent crimes. Right. But they're holding people, you know, hostage. Right. You know, especially in our African American community. Right. Or, you know, you got a drug conviction on your record from 10 years ago. Right, you know what I mean? Teenager or something. Right, as a teenager, or records that was supposedly sealed, but this keeps popping up, you know, and it's hurting us. So I say I have mixed things about this, because we are responsible for our actions, granted. Absolutely, that's what's going to ask you. You know what I mean? We are responsible for what we do. The decisions we make, ultimately, it kind of dictates your future. It does. And your destiny. It does. You know, but on the other hand, there are people who made mistakes and they've gotten it together, and they need a second chance. Absolutely, we all do. So I'm sort of in the middle. I'm just being honest.
And I agree. And we have to be careful, because you know what I always say, we are all a spark away from homelessness. So regardless of what you have today, you can lose tomorrow. You know? I mean, you may be able to amass it quicker than the next person, but if something were to come, case in point, look at these tornadoes and these hurricanes that come. It wipes out everything that you have. Okay? And you don't control that. You don't control the weather.
Right.
Okay? So that's just a reminder. I think that sometimes that's just God's way of saying, I'm in control. And you never know when you're going to need help. You know, my nana used to always say, be careful how you spit up because it comes back down.
Oh, my God.
Right or wrong.
Sounds like something my grandma would say.
Right. My nana, exactly. Be careful how you spit up because it comes back down.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And you know, we can actually put this back or tie this into the whole, you know, I was here during the Katrina situation, and a lot of our churches and communities brought in a lot of people from New Orleans to help them because, you know, they came here, they came to Texas, they came to several different places. But I just remember talking to a couple of families.
Right. And,
you know, these were families who were in my same tax bracket, you know, who was making the kind of money that I was making, and they had nothing. They lost everything.
Right.
So, you know, we need to be careful about how we treat people, what we do, and what we say, because once again, Atlanta could have been Katrina. That could have been us. And a bunch of us would have been looking crazy, and we would have been standing in lines like everybody else trying to get food, a place to stay, you know what I mean, and trying to figure out how we going to get some income, because now that great job you had from those people I talked to is gone.
Hello?
You know what I mean? This one lady was like, I was making $50,000. My husband was making $70,000, and now we're homeless.
Well, you know what? Listen, I believe in. Well, I'm learning to try to be transparent. I moved here from New York in 2000. I transferred with my job, had a good job, worked my home. You know, I never even thought about home ownership, and not because I didn't have the mental capacity to think about it, but I grew up in New York, you know, and
New York.
The hustle, the bustle. You did what you did. When I came here, I saw some opportunities that I didn't have before.
Right.
Well, when I came here, the company that I had worked for that had been in business for 87 years, guess what happened?
They bellied up.
I got a phone call on Labor Day weekend. So every Labor Day now, I don't answer the phone. Somebody called me on Labor Day weekend because I got a phone call. And it was a, what do you call that? You know, like a
automated system.
That's what it was. Automated system. And it said,
say his face.
Services are no longer needed. It didn't say it like that. Basically, it said, due to unforeseen circumstances, your company, and I won't call who they are, but it doesn't matter, they have business. I said, huh? What? I had put in, at that point, I had put in 10 years with that company.
Wow.
And that company gave me a great life. It afforded me opportunity to move. You know, I had a company vehicle. I was able to buy my house. So again, be careful because I had what seemed like to be it all.
Right.
And so I went from everything.
Right.
What was supposed to be stability.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to nothing. So that's why I put my faith in God and not in man, because things can change in an instant.
Oh.
So when people talk about
amen.
You need this. Let me tell you something. I know that God is real. I know I talk about God a lot, and I mention Him because I know what He is to me in my life. But let me tell you something. When people talk about foreclosure and homelessness, I was at the point where I called a mortgage company and I said, well, I don't have the money. I know I'm 7 months behind. What do? The lady told me, just pack what you can and close the door. I hung up the phone. I said, well, I can't say what I said, but I said, pack up, take what I can and close the door. I said, the devil is a lie. I got down on my knees. I said, God, I know you didn't give me this to take it away from me.
Right.
So I say all that to say that you don't know what you have today could be taken away tomorrow. So be careful how you talk about somebody because you never know what assistance you may need. I remember going to Gwinnett County because I couldn't pay all of my bills and I had to eat. I didn't eat, but I had to feed my son.
You're absolutely right.
And that wonderful non-child support paying, but we ain't even gonna go there. You know, didn't help out. You know, but again, I trust God for that. You know? But so now, and I remember saying, once I get to a point where I can help, I'm going to give back, which is what I strive to do now. But anyway, we've got to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to finish up with Rashima. I'm sorry, Rashima. I didn't mean to steal your line.
Yeah, and I have a little point off that, too. So, when we hopefully you guys will stay with us, give us a call at 678-701-3738.
Right, and I just want to say, Tia, I got your text. You better not be driving, Tia, because I put you on blast before. I'm glad you listening, but you better call in. All right, we'll be back in a moment.
Do you need a commercial spot for your concert or event? How about your football homecoming or classic? Well, your search is over. Hi, this is Roy Evans of the Jericho Broadcast Networks, and I want to tell you about Urban Voices at ConcertPromo.com. Urban Voices is one of the premier voice imaging firms in the country. Their teams of veterans know how to get your message across with the hottest flavor. They've worked on some of the biggest events in urban America and can be heard in over 60 radio markets across the country. So from your new product launch to your college homecoming, there's only one place to go if you want to stay ahead of the competition. That's Urban Voices at ConcertPromo.com. Urban Voices at ConcertPromo.com is one of the sources that helps power the Jericho Broadcast Networks.
Are you in need of a dessert for a special event? Maybe a custom birthday cake. I know, it's your wedding day and you want a cake that will stimulate your taste buds and capture and create the memories for that special day. Well, Sweet Destination should be your choice. Let master sweet designer Montevia Gamble create a unique and delicious cake for your special occasion. But that's not all. Sweet Destination also creates other desserts, from cheesecakes, homemade fudge, brownies, cookies, pies, cake pops, cupcakes, and just about anything that you can think of. So check them out at sweetdestinations.com or on Facebook under Sweet Destinations. Remember, the greatest conversations take place on the road to the sweetest destinations of the human mind. So let's do more than business. Let's make memorable moments. We are Sweet Destinations.
Honey, what are we going to do with all these bills? It doesn't make any sense. We make more than enough money to cover everything, but we're still in a hole.
Let's check out Madam Money.
Madam Money? Who is that?
She is a financial expert who helps people like us set and reach our financial goals.
This is great. With her help, we can do all the things that we talked about.
That's right. Now we can take that vacation we've always wanted and not feel stressed.
Hi, this is Tara Jackson, also known as Madam Money, and I can help you clear up all of your financial diseases and those pesky financial STDs.
See, this is why I love you.
Yes, I know.
So check out Madam Money online at tarajackson.com. TARRA Jackson.com. Tap Out Studios of Hollywood is one of Atlanta's newest visual and performing arts centers designed for you to perfect your creativity. Our 3,000 square foot event space includes a full bar, VIP section, movie screen, and 2 stages. Take advantage of our Spring Fling package deal for new and existing clients. Save over 40% when you rent our venue for $700 for events with more than 100 people. For booking information, contact Kendra at 404-578-1454. Located less than a half a mile off of I-20 off Fulton Industrial, we are Tap Out Studios of Hollywood, 620 Interchange Drive. Tap Out Studios of Hollywood, inspiring creativity, changing lives, and making dreams come true.
Hi, welcome back to A Queen's Eye View. I'm Shay.
This is Heidi.
Well, we were talking about Rashima. Well, I was talking about me, but we was
we were trying to talk about Rashima and her great accomplishment.
Absolutely. But anyway, it all wraps together. But Heidi, you said you wanted to make a point. We'll go back to that too, but you were wanting to make a point. Do you remember?
Yeah, I just wanted to tell, this is a quick story. I had a friend who finished his MBA and had an awesome job at Price and Waterhouse in Tampa, and was probably making starting off about $75,000, but full benefits, full package, all that, stock options. And when the recession hit, they immediately downsized his unit, and he hadn't even been in there 8 months. Wow. And so he went without a job for almost a year and a half. And it got so bad that he was raising his children in his home, that he had to send his daughter to the grandmother's house so she could be raised, and his son stayed with him because his son didn't want to leave his dad. But they were going from house to house. God has blessed them. He eventually was able to get another job with the company, but he took about a $40,000 pay cut.
Wow.
And he was devastated, but he still got a position, and he got himself up out of the rut and was able to move here to Atlanta. And now his son is in the military, his daughter's in college, and he's well. So I just know that God is out there. He's real.
Oh yes, he is.
And that no matter what your situation is,
yes, it is,
you can pull through. So hearing the story about Rashima, is that her name?
Yeah, Rashima.
Rashima. That's just the same, just to me, another example of those who, no matter what their circumstances are, they're still going to go forward.
Absolutely.
Because they know there is a rainbow at some point at the end of all of this chaos.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we got to stop using excuses. I get so tired of hearing people talk about, I can't do this because of this situation, or, the man does this to me. Nah, we got to let some things go. And we're going to talk about Juneteenth in a minute, but, we understand what our circumstance and our situations, we know what they are. We all acknowledge that. But there comes a point where you have to move past that. And I think Rashima is a wonderful example of that. That regardless of what her situation was, living in a place with her mom and her two brothers, that she knew that she needed to do more, and she wanted to do better and be better, and she wasn't bitter about it. She knew what her circumstances were, but she knew what she had to do to get out of that. And I think we as a people, just all of us as a nation, we need to do that and stop making excuses. You agree, Heidi?
I completely agree.
Absolutely. So my hat's off to her. And it was another gentleman, Griffin Furlong, out of Florida. Same situation. His mother died when he was young. He was in shelters for a while, but he actually was living with his grandmother and his relatives. His situation, a little different to a point, but still, he had some struggles. No one in school knew that he was homeless and had that going on in his life. He had a 4.65 GPA, valedictorian as well. And his speech was similar to hers. And it was like, just don't give up hope. Even when you want to lose faith, trust God. And I think that somewhere in these children's background was that foundation, that root of faith. Like we talked about the previous week, that you have to have a foundation. You have to have a basis. And for these young people, and as we talk about often, it has to be rooted in God, in some type of spiritual foundation. You agree, Heidi?
I definitely agree. I definitely agree.
And I believe that if we take those challenges and those obstacles, instead of having them be our stumbling blocks and make them our stepping stones, I think we'll get so much further that way. We can look as adults, look to these children and show our children. Our children, some of them are so privileged that they take things for granted and they assume.
Correct.
Correct.
I just simply want to say that these stories on Juneteenth give me hope, and it makes me, it confirms for me that our children, all of our children, haven't lost their mind. I know we always talk about this younger generation.
Right.
It's kind of doing its own thing. They don't mind. They don't want to listen to anybody. They don't have manners, but we do have kids out there who obviously have been instilled some great values in them, no matter what their situations are. And within our community, that makes me extremely proud. So I just wanted to make that point.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, Tia, you out there? I saw you text me and said you were listening. I put you on blast, and I talked about you and Miss Janet at the nail shop. But if you're listening, give us a call and tell us why you're pledging to hang up and drive at 678-701-3738. But now we're going to come up with Heidi's Haven. Heidi, you ready to tell us about your Haven?
Definitely. I had some. I had an interesting situation that was brought to my attention, and I'm just kind of throwing this out here because earlier this evening, our producer had talked to us about a personal situation, and it just brought some things to light to me with the situation we have in Atlanta. We talk about parenting and examples and role models and so forth, but I'm a true believer that our children are like sponges.
Absolutely.
No matter what age they are, and whatever they see, they're going to imitate.
Absolutely.
And so, once again, the responsibility comes back upon us. No matter what we say about our kids and what they are, if we're not teaching them and we're not giving them the guidance they need, then they don't have anything to go on.
Right.
Other than what's going on in the streets, on TV, and in social media.
Right.
But I thought this was interesting. I had a situation where I met a couple, and they met me and my husband. Very nice couple. They were actually a mixed couple, African American male and a white female, and they had sort of befriended us and wanted to have dinner and drinks. Do like the little couple play date thing.
Okay, that sounds nice.
And go out and so forth. And they both had grown children.
Right.
And my husband and I don't have any children. So they had a little time like we do. They could be out and do some things and didn't need a babysitter and that kind of thing. Be
flexible.
So, when we went out, basically what happened was the husband proposed to my husband that we engage in almost like a threesome or a couple situation.
Like a swinger.
Like a swinging situation.
Hold on a minute. Right. Hold on. Let me get a sip of this water.
Look at you. You might have to get a sip of wine. And so, it was put out on the table. And, we're adults. So as an adult, you can discuss anything you want at the table. I have no problems discussing whatever topics because it's just not that taboo to me. I think we all have, opinions about these things. We
Absolutely.
Voice them and be done with it.
Right. Address it.
Whichever way you roll. But I thought it was interesting because as they were having a conversation with us.
Wait, may I ask how long have you known them before you had this conversation?
We met them casually, and we didn't know them very long.
Okay.
So, but they wanted to hang out and whatever. But as they were having that particular conversation, I just remember where we were, and we were sitting around some other families who were having dinner with teenagers and kids and whatever. And so I just remember when the conversation came up, I remember the young man across the table who was sitting with his father and his mother. He was playing on his iPod, but he was looking down, but he was looking over because he really had caught on to the conversation. Right. And he was listening to that situation. Right. Ear hustling. There you go.
Exactly. That's a New York word.
Ear hustling.
Right.
And so, I simply told him, I said, I hear everything, I kind of interrupted into the conversation. I said, I hear everything y'all are saying and proposing. I can tell you that me and my husband aren't down with that. And there's a reason why. And
he was talking to your husband about it? He wasn't talking to you?
Yeah, we were kind of in a conversation, but he was talking. They were man to man talking at that
time. I got you. Okay.
And we as wives were listening. So I kind of barged into the conversation, not because I was trying to cut them off.
Right.
But because I noticed the people that were sitting around us and the kid that was listening to us was kind of chiming in and whatever. And I thought, oh, Lord, this is not something I want past. Not the place. And it's not something I want past. Once again, we're all adults. We can do our thing however we want to do or whatnot. But I say this to say, okay, when I broke into the conversation and I kind of shut the conversation down, I said, maybe this is for another time, another space, not this place right here. And I just kind of shut it down that way.
Right.
I started to feel some kind of way because when I got up, so I said, why don't we excuse ourselves? You know how women, we excuse ourselves and powder our noses.
Right.
So me and the girl, we excused ourselves, we went to the bathroom, and she tapped me on the arm, and she said, you know, I just want to apologize if there was any offense to you or whatnot and stuff. I said, you know, really, I wasn't that offended. I was like, I just felt like it was an inappropriate time and place to have that particular conversation.
Absolutely.
She was like, well, I just want to apologize, you know, for my husband and whatnot. And I thought it was interesting because she didn't make that statement at the table. She made that statement, you know, away from the table when it was just me and her.
But I found it hard to believe she didn't know he was going to say that.
Well, and even if she did,
right?
You know, I noticed how she maneuvers. She maneuvers better
alone. Right.
Versus,
I got you.
You know, my husband and I are a team, so he doesn't stop me from talking, and I don't stop him from talking.
That's right.
We don't cut each other off, but you know, we both can interject in any situation we want, and that's just how we roll. Because everybody's situation is different. But what I do want to say is, when we got ready to leave the restaurant, the mother of the teenager, she kind of walked up behind me, and you know how you kind of leaving out, there's coat check, hat check, and you're grabbing your stuff, and because it was a nice place.
I was gonna say, no, they don't do that at Applebee's where I go.
Right. They walked up behind you. It was a nice restaurant, and she just kind of said, you know, I really wish that you guys could have had that conversation somewhere else, because now my kid won't shut up about this, and he's asking me and my husband questions. And so once again, I brought the whole scenario up to say, you know, that we, a lot of times as adults, we foster our own madness. We cause a lot of our own issues. When your pastor or preacher who you love stands before the church and says, I've done infidelity, that influences the minds of kids around them to say, well, heck, if the pastor did it, why can't I? You know, I'm bringing these up as examples.
Oh, yeah.
Because now I'm working with mentoring kids, and they just kind of feel like adults are hypocrites as it is.
Right.
They feel like we don't have a right to tell them what they should and should not do, or can and cannot do, because we go around and do things, and we embarrass ourselves as adults, and we get caught up in murder and greed and infidelity and crazy situations, and it gets put out on blast in public. So they feel like we don't have a right to tell them anything.
Right. Who can they look to? So
Heidi's Haven is really, Haven means a home, a safe place, a place to be. Well, in my mind, you know, as a mentor of kids, I just, you know, I feel like that we can have all of these kinds of conversations, even if they're controversial, but I do think that we need to remember and take note of how we handle things, what we say in front of kids, and where we are when we doing things, because once again, they're little sponges. They sponge it all up, and then sometimes those sponges, they ring back out, and they use it against you. So anyway, that was my point on Heidi's Haven. Shay, you need to take it away.
Okay. Well, if I can just piggyback onto what you just said when we talked about, you know, our children watch us. There was a story about when I said, who should be allowed to teach? Your qualifications, should they be based solely on your credentials? In Florida, our great state of Florida, Dave Meach, formerly known as Dave Pounder in the adult industry, he was a adult entertainer, a porn star for years, but he's an ex-porn star now, and he's seeking employment on the Palm Beach School Board, and he wants to be in charge of the sex education department. And he I'm sorry, y'all. I find that funny because he wants to write the curriculum for that. He holds 2 doctorate degrees. So that means what? Because you have 2 doctorate degrees and you were an ex-porn star and now you're qualified? Okay, so pornography? I don't know. I don't care what his degrees are in. Our producer says, what are his degrees in? But I'm just saying, again, our children, okay, with social media, here's what I have a problem with. All they have to do is put his name in, and guess what they're going to see? See what Dr. Dave is doing. So what kind of respect are they going to have for him? Well, I'm serious. How many female teachers have lost their jobs because they posed nude in a magazine? or they've done some movies, adult entertainment, but not necessarily porno. But how many? I'll tell you, there were a lot because I looked it up.
Or they lost.
So as some gentleman that just walked by said, I won't say who he was, made a comment. Anyway, Dr. Dave, I don't believe.
It was me.
I believe that, when we talked about rehabilitation and forgiveness, I'm not saying that he couldn't teach. And he's also a math tutor. He has several centers. He said he's a homeowner. He has great credit. Okay, what does that have to do with teaching? Because again, in this day and time with social media, the first thing I would do if I was a student, I wouldn't use my computer. I'd use my friends. But I would look him up. And see what he was doing. What do you think, Heidi?
Okay, well, let me just say this, because, I always play devil's advocate.
Right.
We just made the point that a lot of our families are working poor because their wrongs are held against them. Well,
he's not. He just said how much property he owns.
Hold on. I'm just making a point because their past is held against them, whether their background, their record, their so forth. Now, I'm just going to say this. We all can rehabilitate and get our lives on and move on and do great things because we can. We can. Shay, we can. Really can, Shay. And sometimes certain people turn their situations of pain, like Dr. Maya Angelou, who was a prostitute at one point, into one of the most celebrated poets, historians, philosophers of our era. Absolutely. Shay, let me finish.
Okay, I am.
Thank you.
You cannot compare that man to Maya.
No, I'm not comparing her to Maya.
I'm playing the other devil's advocate.
Back to what I was saying. Thank you very much. Queen's Eye View. Anyway, the point I'm making to you is because of the fact that I know we can take our situations and turn them into positivity, because there are people who've been in gangs who now mentor children. There are people who've been in really horrific situations who have done great things for the community. I don't know this man. I don't know this man, and I can't judge this man. But what I will say is when you apply for the type of position that he applied for, he is going to be scrutinized, especially if you're dealing with children. Absolutely. So because you're going to be scrutinized, even if you have good intentions and even if you have gone on to do great things and you've been educated and now you really want to help, your background unfortunately follows you no matter where you go. Exactly. So once again, that goes back to when I said, we make these decisions and then, we have to take responsibility for how they go, because Miss America lost Miss America because of the fact that she took some pictures with Playboy. Now, that doesn't mean that she's not a great actress, a great singer, and a great mom, and a great wife, and just a philanthropist, and all of that. But those pictures still followed her to one of her highest honors. And unfortunately, it caused a lot of controversy. I would actually hate that this man go through this kind of or put himself through the controversy in the first place. But I know where you coming from, Shay, but I just wanted to bring up the fact that because we have social media these days and because everything is on blast in the media, when you start to do things like run for office or get in these higher positions, you're going to be scrutinized, which is why the president, when you run for president or office or anything else, they vet you. They do background. They check every single thing you ever did down to your elementary school.
Right, and you should. but not to cut you off. But I am, but not to. But again, when there's certain positions that you hold, there are unfortunately certain standards. If you're teaching children, there's certain things that you have to be accountable for. I'm not saying he's not a good man. And again, I'm trying to think the other side today, because normally I would say, they can be rehabilitated. Don't hold it against them. But how often are things held against us if we have a criminal background, or if we do make a mistake, or if we do error? It happens all the time. But in a position such as that, when you are teaching students, when you are trying to become a director of a program, when you want to talk about sex education and do those things, and you've had a past, unfortunately, your past sets the stage for your future. And we have to be cognizant of what we do in the past, because it will follow us in our future. And unfortunately, that's what we need to start teaching our children, that, the decisions you make today are the decisions that you're going to have to live with tomorrow. And you're absolutely right. This guy, Dave, he could be a great guy. But my problem, or my question is, by him saying, I'm a homeowner, I have great credit, I have money in the bank, those are not reasons why he should have the position, or those are, I have 2 doctorate degrees, that's not speaking to your credibility. The fact that what I did, okay, I was an ex-porn star. There's a lot of people that used to strip. There's a lot of people that were prostitutes. You're right. We all have done things in our past that we're not proud of, that we don't want it to hold us back. So I agree with you in that respect. But I'm saying there are things with certain positions, somebody may have had, case in point, a man may have messed with an underage girl and he didn't know, and he goes to become a teacher or get a position where he works with children. That holds him back. He didn't know. So I agree with you. I understand that. But unfortunately, because he didn't know or he didn't take the time to find out or and again, we can argue both sides of it, but I'm just saying because of the position that he's going for, people are not really excited about him getting that job. But we have to go to a commercial break, and Heidi's not even looking at me now, so I'm going to make up with her on break. We'll be right back with a Queen's Eye View. Stay with us.
Great.
Do you need a commercial spot for your concert or event? How about your football homecoming or classic? Well, your search is over. Hi, this is Roy Evans of the Jericho Broadcast Networks, and I want to tell you about Urban Voices at ConcertPromo.com. Urban Voices is one of the premier voice imaging firms in the country. Their teams of veterans know how to get your message across with the hottest flavor. They've worked on some of the biggest events in urban America and can be heard in over 60 radio markets across the country. So from your new product launch to your college homecoming, there's only one place to go if you want to stay ahead of the competition. That's Urban Voices at ConcertPromo.com. Urban Voices at ConcertPromo.com is one of the sources that helps power the Jericho Broadcast Networks.
Are you in need of a dessert for a special event? Maybe a custom birthday cake. I know, it's your wedding day and you want a cake that will stimulate your taste buds and capture and create the memories for that special day. Well, Sweet Destination should be your choice. Let master sweet designer Montevia Gamble create a unique and delicious cake for your special occasion. But that's not all. Sweet Destination also creates other desserts, from cheesecakes, homemade fudge, brownies, cookies, pies, cake pops, cupcakes, and just about anything that you can think of. So check them out at sweetdestinations.com or on Facebook under Sweet Destinations. Remember, the greatest conversations take place on the road to the sweetest destinations of the human mind. So let's do more than business. Let's make memorable moments. We are Sweet Destinations.
Honey, what are we going to do with all these bills? It doesn't make any sense. We make more than enough money to cover everything, but we're still in a hole.
Let's check out Madam Money.
Madam Money? Who is that?
She is a financial expert who helps people like us set and reach our financial goals.
This is great. With her help, we can do all the things that we talked about.
That's right. Now we can take that vacation we've always wanted and not feel stressed.
Hi, this is Tara Jackson, also known as Madam Money, and I can help you clear up all of your financial diseases and those pesky financial STDs.
See, this is why I love you.
Yes, I know.
So check out Madam Money online at tarajackson.com. TARRA Jackson.com. Tap Out Studios of Hollywood is one of Atlanta's newest visual and performing arts centers designed for you to perfect your creativity. Our 3,000 square foot event space includes a full bar, VIP section, movie screen, and 2 stages. Take advantage of our Spring Fling package deal for new and existing clients. Save over 40% when you rent our venue for $700 for events with more than 100 people. For booking information, contact Kendra at 404-578-1454. Located less than a half a mile off of I-20 off Fulton Industrial, we are Tap Out Studios of Hollywood, 620 Interchange Drive. Tap Out Studios of Hollywood, inspiring creativity, changing lives, and making dreams come true.
Hi, welcome back to A Queen's Eye View. I'm Shay, and Heidi's alongside me here.
Hey.
Hey there, Heidi. How you doing, Heidi?
I'm good.
Are you really, Heidi?
I am awesome, actually.
Oh, good. Well, we're enjoying the show tonight. We really are, and again, these are just our opinions, and we like to play both sides of it. We take one position and take the other, and we kind of just agreed to agree, actually, that, sometimes you have to choose a position, and we were talking with our producer that maybe if he would have just stayed in the private sector and continue to teach math, but when you want to go back into the public sector and say, I want to teach sexual education, I'm sorry, however you look at it, it's going to be controversial because this day and age with the way teenagers are, kids are, and with, child molestation and just all of the things, all the red flags that go up, it just makes people feel a little uneasy. And I'm not saying that, that's right or that's fair. People aren't as forgiving for some things.
Correct.
And unfortunately, it is what it is. We all want to be forgiven. We all want, to move past our past at times. But unfortunately, that's when we have to be cognizant of what we do in our past can and will follow us into our future. We just have to be mindful. That's all.
Correct.
There was another story that I just want to touch on quickly. I don't know if you heard about it. It was this person went to the Department of Motor Vehicles in South Carolina. I'll say that again, South Carolina. A teenager went to the Department of Motor Vehicles, to get his driver's license. They took their driver's license test, went inside, they passed. And, when you go to take your test, you want your face to look nice, you put your makeup on, and you're ready to smile. Mm-hmm. Well, the lady refused to take the picture. Right. So why won't you take my picture? And they're looking.
Oh,
they wouldn't take the picture.
That. I saw that.
Well,
story.
They wouldn't take the picture because it was a 16-year-old male that had on a full face of makeup. And the DMV person refused to take the picture and said that I cannot take that picture because that's considered being in a disguise. That is not your natural state. And the young man's mother says, I think that's ludicrous. He's going to be scarred from this. He should be allowed to take his picture. That's him 24/7. And the person there that worked at the DMV says, I'm sorry, but we're not going to take his picture. She made him wipe off the makeup on his face before he took the picture. And then took the picture and he got his driver's license and he went on. So now he's talking about suing the Department of Motor Vehicles in Anderson, South Carolina. Because they made him remove his makeup, and it says that he's a gender non-conforming 16-year-old, and he believes he was discriminated against. And the Department of Motor Vehicles says, no, on your driver's license, which is a government-issued ID, you have to appear in your normal state, which is how you look regularly. A woman could wear makeup, but even not too much of that as if it were to look like a disguise. Your thoughts, Heidi?
I saw this story this morning. Oh boy. I'm just gonna keep it real. I saw this story this morning, and at first, I had the same thought that I had about the young woman who went to a prom a couple of months ago and was asked to leave the prom because they said her dress was too short, although her dress was the correct fingertip length.
Okay.
But she was a tall girl.
Okay.
And she was asked to leave a prom because she was told that she was distracting to the adult men and the men in the room. And I felt like that young woman was truly discriminated against, especially since she met the requirement.
Right.
You can't help your height.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have long legs and so forth. So you're going to look probably a lot more mature than most of the kids in the room. That's a growth spurt. It is what it is. But the point I'm making about the story is when I first heard this young man's story, initially I jumped to, okay, here we go again with the kind of situation. Now, I will say this. When we take government IDs, when I went to get my passport or whatever, even at the post office, when we went to take a picture, they were kind of giving me guidance on, that when I travel out of seas, that if I wear my hair a certain way, I do certain things, to mirror sort of your picture, because they're going to be looking all in the picture and they want to make sure you are who you say you are, and that you're not somebody else. And I remember talking to the post people that when I was redoing my passport picture, so I could see how the DMV could have even made that statement. But I also see another side where this can roll into discriminatory area, and it may go there. Because of the fact that society really does not know how to address the transgender community as a whole. We had the issues with what bathrooms should they use in high schools. We're having these issues now. We're having issues with them being beat up and discriminated against in the community. So I just think that because of the fact that we don't know how to deal with the transgender community, when it comes to all the regular rules and regulations that we as a society have, then we're going to continue to have these conflicts. But some of those conflicts could be seen as discriminatory. I get what the ZMV was doing, but I just wanted to bring out that point because, once again, if we don't address the box, then we're always going to run into this situation.
Right.
And I don't think we're addressing it. I don't think our community really knows what to do with this. I think they're at a standstill. I mean, hell, we had the girl who was running for I do believe it was the Olympics, and they had to test her to see whether or not she was a girl or a boy. You guys remember that story? And I thought, you're not checking me to check to see if I'm a girl. What kind of mess is that? This was my first thought process.
Right.
But we have individuals in our society who look like who you're not sure of, because it's not even that they're trying to look like a man or a woman. It's just the way they were genetically born.
Right.
So until we figure out a way to correctly address this, like I said, we're going to continue to run into these situations.
Right. And I guess
that was my point.
Right. And our producer was saying makeup's not genetics, and I agree with what you're saying, Heidi. And I would say if he had the full sex change, for instance, if something had been done and his gender was changed, and again, it's a controversial, but if he were going through the process, say, and he had made the change, that's one thing. But at 16 and you're putting on makeup just because you like to wear makeup, and you're curling your hair because you like to curl your hair, then with the way things are now, with terrorists and just things happening, I do understand the DMV's point, because you could come in there dressed like a girl and take a driver's license photo and go commit a crime and look like a boy, and guess what? You just got away with.
Yeah,
so in that respect, I do agree. Now, if you're going through some change and you want to change your sex, then granted, I could see that argument. But at 16, because you just like to put on makeup, or that's like going to take a picture with a hat on. They make you take your hat off. You can't do that because it alters your look. But again, to each his own, and he has a right to sue, and we'll see what happens down the road with that. But, before we close out, Heidi, you want to talk a little bit about what today is and just cover, Juneteenth, because we actually have 2 Independence Days, and some people don't know that. I think July 4th is the only Independence Day, but we actually have 2 that we can celebrate.
We actually do, and my husband frequently reminds me of this because he gets real irritated when we celebrate St. Patty's Day and we celebrate Cinco de Mayo, and we celebrate all these holidays, and then people seem to forget or not know. And really, I'm gonna be real, this is an education piece.
Oh, me too.
Because really, if we as African Americans don't hand down our traditions like we have in the past, then you can't fault kids for what they don't know or what they haven't heard about.
I agree.
But of course, today is Juneteenth. It's the holiday in the United States that commemorates the announcement of the abolition of slavery in the U.S. In the state of Texas in 1865. And more generally, the emancipation of African American citizens throughout the United States, celebrated on June 19th. The term of June and 19th is Juneteenth, and is recognized as a state holiday or a special day for observance in most states.
Right.
I thought that was interesting that the Wikipedia says in most states.
Right. I don't see it on my calendar.
I'm curious to see. Yeah, well, I
didn't get today off. I go back and talk.
And I see
I work for nothing today.
You know, and I see some real kind of interesting holidays, Jewish holidays, all kind of holidays on the computer. Yeah, Ash Wednesday, but I have never seen Juneteenth on my calendar. Maybe that's because we in the South. I'm not sure.
But look, but Georgia's on the list though. That's
on the list.
Look, I saw that. I found it. I said, what? I need to talk to my manager and say, you owe me a day. And it's not going to be my personal day either. Or floating holiday. That's what they're going to say. Oh, it's your floating holiday.
Completely agree with you there. You know, it's interesting that, and I just want to bring this up because Shay and I often, it's not even that we battle. We show both sides of the line on this. You know, I always tell people, you don't know where you're going until you know where you came from.
Absolutely.
You know, you really do need to know your history. And our history, which a lot of people don't realize in our community, is wider, way wider than just slavery. But it is a big 300 year, not 100 year. Don't believe the hype. It's a big 300 year piece of our history that a lot of people really try hard to deny. I want to bring up this really interesting story that came out of Texas just today that I thought was hilarious, and it showed up on the Griot news section on Facebook. So apparently in Texas there was this board, you know, like you have board of directors for the city council board.
Okay.
And they were voting in Texas to make the Juneteenth day a resolution, you know, to have a resolution to make it an official day in this particular city in Texas. I don't have the city in front of me, so, you know, I can't state the facts right now, which one it is, but I'm sure you guys can look this up. Well, apparently they didn't really read the resolution as it was presented by the man or the people who presented it to the council. But they passed it. They passed the resolution to go ahead and have this Juneteenth, which what they didn't know, which is why reading is fundamental, is when they passed the resolution, there was a part at the bottom that said, and we believe in giving reparations to the African American community, whether by property or monetarily, as a result of this resolution. And they passed it, didn't read it, and then after they realized, somebody had gotten a hold and read the thing, brought it to the media's attention, and the media asked them, did you know what you were signing? And a lot of the board members said, well, no, I didn't realize what we had signed until after we signed it. And they passed it, and it was adopted.
So you mean we get our 40 acres and a mule if we live in Texas?
No, I need to look up what city this is in Texas.
I'm moving to Texas.
But the point I'm making to you is, I thought, you know, this is really kind of ironic, a little hilarious, because apparently the council was trying to do the right thing by at least acknowledging Juneteenth and bringing it in the city, you know, as an official holiday. But they snuck a little something else onto the resolution.
Read before you sign.
Right. So once again, boys and girls, reading is fundamental. You guys need to pick up those books, read those contracts before you sign them.
That's right.
I'm just saying.
That's right. That's funny.
You get yourself into some situations if you don't.
Exactly.
Now, I have no idea what they're going to do about that, but they passed that into, they adopted it. It was passed. I didn't second it. So, that's all I have to say about Texas.
Well, if I could, I'd like to read something before we close out. We got a few more minutes, but before we do, there's something that Rashima Melson said in her valedictorian speech that I thought was so powerful and so eloquently stated. She said, "Never be afraid to go after your dreams. regardless of the negative forecast that has been predicted upon us. Beat the odds and let the sun shine. She also said, time does not want pity, adjust for, or to anyone. Life is not fair. No. Life is not fair. Mm-hmm. And I just thought those words are deep. And if you meditate on that, you realize life is not fair and life is what you make it. And you have to go and you have to reach beyond your circumstance and your situation. Agree?
I totally agree. That's beautiful.
And then before we close out, like I said, we have a couple more minutes. It was something that's not really funny, but you heard a story about the human chandelier?
No. Oh, yeah. Wait. The circus girls.
Right.
The circus ladies.
When is the circus no longer funny?
Oh, yeah.
Now, Heidi and I was talking earlier, and we had a thing, man versus animal.
Right.
Or animal versus food.
Right.
And Heidi and I agreed on that. I kind of root for the animals sometimes. Well, no, most of the time. I mean, in theory, but when I see it actually happening, I really feel bad. I watched this video one day, and I don't know how I found it I think it was on Facebook. It was an old video, but they were going through a safari trip. And anytime you go on a safari, they always tell you, stay in the vehicle. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've been saying that. Keep your hands in the vehicle.
Right.
Stay in the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this had to be an old video. I think it was like in the 80s. There was a man. They were taking pictures of lions. Lions are just laying out there basking in the sun as a little train goes through. I believe it was in Africa.
Okay.
So they had a guide. They had their guns and everything. Everybody's going through. They had a few cars in the middle. So the lion, he's laying back there with his back turned to the people. I guess he's tired of them. This man opens the car door. So now, I just had the laptop up, and I'm just laying back looking. So now I sit on the edge of my seat. I said, this is getting good. Well, I'm not laughing because the man lost his life in the end. But he got out of the car. He walked up behind the animal with his camera. And I know it was an old one because it was one of those old cameras. And he began to snap photos of the animal behind its back. Well, if anybody knows, there's always more than one. Well, you know what happened next, right? One came and slapped the hell out of him from behind one of the lions. And that was the end. I mean, that wasn't the end of the video, but that was the end of him. Okay. And those animals just mauled him, and his wife and his kids looked on in horror. Mm-hmm. And it was so sad and so upsetting. But he really brought that on himself.
I agree.
Because he got out of the vehicle. You're on a safari trip. Well, right. These are real live animals. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And some people who raise these animals. I mean, even it was a story a few years ago, maybe a couple of years ago, in the Bronx. Somebody's raising an alligator in their tub and a tiger in an apartment. Okay, so we want to know how that ended?
Oh.
An alligator in your tub and a tiger in your apartment. Okay, somebody's got to move. Right. And it wasn't the tiger or the alligator.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. What's interesting about that, and I just want to bring this up, is one, and my husband brings this up to me because it's true. I don't know if you guys ever noticed this, but every time an animal attacks humans, they maul a human. They don't eat the human. We don't taste too good. They maul us. They hit us. They scratch us up. You know what I mean? They'll knock the wind out of you, beat you up, rag you around like a rag doll. But they don't technically eat us. We're the only ones who eat other animals. You know what I mean? We don't taste good for whatever reason. But the thing about it is, and I'm not being funny. I just wanted to bring that point up. But animals have natural defense mechanisms. They have emotions and feelings like anybody else, right. Especially men. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're protective of their family, their land, their home, whatever it is.
Right.
So why would you? I respect, how you see the great animal nature TV shows where they do the cameras,
right?
And they plant the cameras places and then they leave,
right?
Or they, you know what I mean? Or they do it overhead out the plains or the valleys.
Yes, ma'am.
Go down there next to the animal. That's not how you
respect
take kids.
Their habitat.
Right. You respect their habitat and where they live. They respect ours. We got to respect theirs. And the only reason why they come into our habitat occasionally is because we're screwing up theirs and they can't find food.
Right.
If we didn't cut down all the trees and burn up everything and build something on every single piece of land, they wouldn't be coming up in the back of your yard.
But look what happens when they do come in our yard. What we do? Shoot them.
Right.
We go to kill them when they come in our space.
Right. But you know why they're doing that. And so I once again, it's usually our fault. I'm just being real. It's usually our fault, and we cause them to act like that. And just one other point, those circus animals. Okay, I'm not a huge PETA girl, but I get it. I got a notice from PETA one day in my email, and they really want people to ban the Barnum and Bailey circus, as well as some of these other circuses around here, because the treatment of animals is horrible.
Wow.
It's extremely horrible, and they put them through stressful situations. They beat them. They treat them really bad to do all these tricks, and then you mad when they turn on you or they want to trample you. I'd be wanting to trample and turn on you too.
Remember that zebra that was running down 85?
There you go. He was trying to get away from some craziness.
Right. He was running. He was trying to get away.
If you're gonna mistreat animals, then what do you expect? Which is why I respect. When I go to our aquarium, we saved a lot of the animals that came into the Atlanta's aquarium were animals that we saved from other places that had been neglected and mistreated.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it was something that I learned when I went there on a lesson, and it was awesome to see them thriving and healthy and, happy and so forth. But animals are just like a person. If you attack my child and my family or my place, we're gonna attack you back.
Protect your children. Absolutely. Protect your family.
What do you expect?
Yeah, you're right.
So it is what it is.
And then we had the human chandelier. Real quick on that, there were 8 women, and it was part of Barnum and Bailey Circus. They were hanging by their hair, and a metal clip broke. Right. So what do you think is going to happen if the clip breaks? You're going to fall.
Right.
So I'm assuming that when you join in the circus, you sign some type of liability and waivers, all types. Well, they were hurt. They broke some bones. And the circus, of course, is paying their hospital bills. But now they said they believe they're going to sue because their life is never going to be the same. My question was, right, but they said they're going through rehabilitation. My question was, when you knew you started this, and they said they first started this with only 2 women. They knew it was a difficult, never before done stunt. And that's what drew the people, because they wanted to see I would have went to see that. How you going to hang from just your hair? And I'm just saying, okay, I understand that, but you knew the risk when you joined the circus and you did this stunt. I'm saying they would have to. I couldn't just imagine hanging by my hair. I'd have to have a net or something. I'm thinking.
Well, that's the point I want to break up. I saw the video. I saw it twice, and I rewatched it again on YouTube. There was nothing under them. And every circus that I've ever been to, there's something under every single event. The trapeze people, there's nets. There's some kind of big, the big beanbags. Like when you're doing gymnastics, you fall on the mats and the big things. There was nothing under these women. And I don't understand why you couldn't have at least had the big beanbag, huge mat thing to just be there as a safeguard. If something happens. So, I'm wondering if they're going to say, well, they're going to sue the circus for that. Like there were no safety measures in place. But once again, like Shay said, you knew what you were signing up when you took that job.
Right. They said they don't know who. They said they're going to sue, but they don't know who yet. So it'd be interesting to see. And another story I read briefly. I didn't know that, and it was on in New York City, there are signs up in the subways that you cannot take up more than 1 seat. Well, I knew that was a rule, but I didn't know there were signs. Well, last week, there was a young lady that was on the subway that had her feet in another seat. Well, the police got on the train, and I believe they told her to move her feet or something, and she got loud with them. New Yorkers, aggressive, and we ain't moving our feet. I ain't doing that. Why you bother me? Why you picking on me? It's 2:30 in the morning. I'm tired. I just put my feet up. Nobody want to sit down. Why you asking me to move my feet? Mm-hmm. So she said, so they went to go grab her. They went to go grab on her, and she said, well, what if I were to hit you? And they grabbed her. They went to go take her off of the train. She wound up hitting them, and they locked her up. So now there's this whole thing where they want to do a movement that the cops were wrong. Just want to say the cops are not always wrong.
And on that note.
Right. And on that note. Right.
You know what? I've truly enjoyed it. Now you've had some good stuff, Shay. I can't even lie to you on that one. And I'm really hoping that we have more callers calling. We dropped a couple of folks, unfortunately, or they dropped themselves. I'm not quite sure what happened, but we really do want you guys' opinions. We want you to chime in. You know, our number is 678-701-3738. You know, we're coming to the end of our show, but please, next show, join in and definitely visit our Facebook, our Twitter, page for Sky City, because this is an awesome show with awesome women and opinions, and we want to hear what the community has to say about these topics and issues.
Yep. Thanks for joining us. We've enjoyed you. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. A Queen's Eye View. I'm Shay.
And I'm Heidi.
Be safe and be blessed.